Hey guys, this is a video response to Wiccagem's request that we make introductory videos in which we introduce ourselves outside of our typical pagan, witchy contexts, just because we're more than that, right? So I'm going to tell you, probably in an overly long, rambling video, about myself. So I'm Thorn. I'm 27. I'll be 28 in May. I'm a Taurus. Doesn't mean a whole lot to me. I live in North Carolina, but I'm from DC, and I miss DC desperately. I do not like North Carolina, especially Charlotte, which is the city I live in now. Yeah. Raleigh was cool. Raleigh's a cool town, but Charlotte is awful. It's a pit. I hate it. Let's see. I'm an Army brat. Both of my parents, not just my dad, but also my mother, are retired soldiers, which is pretty cool. So there's an awful lot of military going on in my life growing up. I didn't have to move as much as some of my friends did, but after I was born, we did spend some time in Germany, and then we came back and lived in Virginia, and I went to school in DC, and I went to college in Virginia, and then I moved to North Carolina because I have a brother who lives here, and well, North Carolina, not in Charlotte, but I have a brother in North Carolina, and it seemed like if I was going to move somewhere, then I may as well move somewhere kind of close to someone that I knew. Let's see. I go to school a whole lot. As you guys, I think, have seen from my other videos, I'm always writing a paper or going to a conference or freaking out about a paper or a conference. I'm a master's student in religious studies. I specialize in American religions, particularly Neo-Pentecostalism and evangelical Christianity. I do field work, so I do a lot of ethnographic stuff with a megachurch in this area, and my thesis is centered around sort of the dynamics that go on in this particular group. So I go to church and Bible study a whole lot, probably more than a lot of the Christians, you know, which is pretty weird when you're pagan. But it's actually pretty cool most of the time. It's not this big scary thing that I think a lot of pagans think it is. And by and large, they don't care. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, they're interested in converting me and, you know, my salvation, etc. But being Wiccan isn't really worse than being a Catholic to them. Like, it's all kind of the same. You're either one of them or you're not. And if you're not, then what you are doesn't necessarily matter. It actually works out really well because they think that God has basically positioned me amongst them. So anyway, they're very friendly. They're good people. And it's a much better project than some of the other things I've been thinking about. I am going to be going on to doing PhD work, hopefully by the end of next year, if all goes smoothly. So that'll be pretty cool. I'm going to continue to work in American religions, and ideally, I mean, I'll get to do my own research and write and, you know, teach at the undergraduate level, because that's what you do. Let's see, what else? I have a cat. Many of you guys have met him. Let's see if I can do this. His name is Oliver. He went to the vet this morning, so he's still a little bit cranky. He had to have a checkup because I was a little worried that he might be asthmatic, because he's been kind of coughy and sniffly and sneezy, but we think it might just be an allergy. Anyway, I say we, it's really just me. That's kind of bad. I live alone, except for Oliver. So it's very rare that I ever have cause to use we. I am happily single. Generally speaking, I don't date. I'm not particularly interested in partnership, and I don't believe in marriage. I don't know, it just strikes me as this fundamental, like, I know people don't think of it this way, and women nowadays, by and large, don't necessarily mean it this way, but I think marriage fundamentally is patriarchal, and it's rooted in this idea that women are essentially property. And I think this is indicative of the expectation that women take their husbands' names. Anyway, I've got a an issue with it. Not to say that I have an issue with long-term partnerships or the idea of like commitment that goes along with something like marriage, but I think marriage historically, in the sort of context we're living in, is problematic. So anyway, I spend all of my time on school and I travel so much. It's just it's not something that interests me. And I really like being able to like spend my money on myself and go to the week-long pagan festival without having to ask anyone's permission, and you know, getting to do whatever I want. So it's pretty cool. Let's see. In addition to my work in religious studies, I study Chinese language, mostly just because it's fun. I started out thinking that I might want to do something with Chinese religion, and then it turned into me just really liking the language more than anything else. So I kept the language and moved back to the American stuff. I avoid writing about paganism in my academic work just because I haven't found sort of that middle ground where I can maintain my integrity as a practitioner and as a scholar. And I honestly haven't really seen anyone else who's real good at that. It's kind of a nebulous thing to write academically when you're also an insider. I don't know how well that works. Let's see. I play roller derby. I don't know, like I really hadn't roller skated before, but I started in October and it's awesome. I'm not very good or anything. I'm still really just learning. Like I'm not bout eligible yet. So you won't see me in games if you ever came to our league's bouts. But I do go to all the practices and I get pushed around, and you know, I'm a full league member, but we've got kind of like a training group of newbies, and then ways to assess them for bout eligibility later. But anyway, it's great. It's the hardest workout ever. I've never done anything more difficult physically, and I've been competitive in Taekwondo, and I'm a runner, and I pole dance, and roller derby is really, really hard. But it's a lot of fun. It's a good outlet for meeting non-school friends, because there is such a thing as too much school, believe it or not. Let's see. If you were to look on my shelf of movies downstairs, you would note that I really only have two kinds, and it's a little weird. I have lots and lots and lots of the classic animated Disney films, which I love, despite the misogyny and the patriarchy everywhere, rah, rah, rah. And then, like, horror movies and, like, classic monster movies. I don't like slasher films, and I don't like horror porn, kind of like Saw and that sort of thing. Like, I don't like gory stuff. I like spooky, I like monsters, I like zombies. So that's kind of the loophole with the gore. And I like, you know, movies about, like, a sudden virus discovered that wipes out all of humanity, blah, 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 like, you know, The Road and Contagion kind of stuff. So there's not a whole lot of middle ground. Everything is either, like, very G and PG, or else R and, you know, may contain graphic content. So let's see. I play guitar. I've played guitar professionally. I've played since I was 13. I went to school for music. I studied music formally. Ever since last year, I've worked in retail in a guitar shop. But in the last several years, I've also played in working cover bands and taught guitar privately. The money's pretty good as long as you're sort of, you know, diligent and good with your finances. It's definitely not a good lifestyle for people who aren't good at math or restraint. Let's see. I like all kinds of music, but my favorite is technically complicated music, especially where the guitar is concerned. Like I really love bluegrass, and I really love jazz and metal. So like those three things, like there's some crazy stuff going on in there for the string players. So things that are like melodically or technically interesting, I really appreciate. But I also like pop music. Let's see. I don't watch TV, mostly because I'm too cheap to pay for cable, and generally if it's not on cable, it's not worth watching. It's been my experience. And when I do watch TV, like when I visit friends or when I'm just like at a hotel or something, I like the kind of disturbing reality shows like Hoarders, and the kind of shows that make you just go, oh my God, people live differently than I do. Let's see. I guess that's really it. That's kind of a lot, right? Okay. Well, anyway, good idea for a tag, and you guys should do it too.